This shop is in rough shape, but it is worth saving. And today I'm going to invest a huge amount of time, a huge amount of money into turning this into my dream shop. We're going to build a loft. I need to gut all of the stuff that was left here by the previous owners of this place, all while trying to move my family down here and, of course, maintaining my property. My new shop is right above this barn, and it's gonna heavily rely on this barn as making it functional and usable. I have a lot of big projects that I do, and I have a boatload of tools. My last shop, I had basically permanently, I would have 3 vehicles in there. I don't want to do that in this shop, and because I have this huge barn and I just had like a junk hauling place haul most of the stuff out of here, I can start to like feed things into these slots. And I mean, there's like a chicken coop behind where you're at right now. I'm gonna do some Sawzall work in here eventually, and then I'm gonna be able to start like backing in vehicles so I can store everything in here, and then it'll alleviate some space for the shop and make it to where I can just use the shop for work instead of storage. Last night, I used that mini excavator, and I made a road. Originally, I was gonna rent a big piece of equipment for this, but that mini X did just fine. Like 3 or 4 hours worth of work, and I have myself a road. Before, I wasn't gonna be able to use my forklift. I have a dually forklift at the other shop that I'm gonna bring down here, and I'm gonna be using it to move pallets and engines and all kinds of stuff. And I wouldn't have been able to get down to the barn from the shop. But now we have a road. I'm gonna rent a jumping jack, compact all this down, get a bunch more of this gravel delivered, throw all that down, use a plate compactor, compact that down, and then I should very easily be able to use my dually forklift to transport stuff from one building to the next. So the plan right now is to use the scissor lift that I just rented and to finish out the walls. We've got to hang new lights, we've got to paint this place. I want to build a loft right above where we're standing. There's a ton of work in here and I got to get started on it today. Luckily, the walls of this shop were like 70% insulated, so I just needed to finish that out and then come up with a game plan of how I'm going to sheet the upper portion of this shop. We just ran into our first major problem with this project. I bought all my material based on the idea that I was going to be able to extend these sheets all the way up to the ceiling. And so I was gonna do some framing. 2x6s end up being perfect to where I could secure the 2x6 onto, there's a 2x4 across here, or maybe that was a 2x6. Either way, I was going to lay it into here, screw it in there, screw it in here, screw it in the top, and then we were gonna be able to have like some studs that we can then lay a sheet over the top, and it would make this finished surface extend from the floor all the way to the ceiling. The problem that I'm having is multiple generations of owners have had multiple ideas of how the conduit should be ran in here. So some of it is bent and snakes behind the finish of the posts. Some of it is bent and snakes in front of it. Some of it's mounted to like, you know, wood blocks, which is killer because I could just pull all those blocks, kind of wang-dang the conduit out and shove some plywood behind it. But because it's so inconsistent, there's not a clean way for me to solve this problem. However, if I just like rip these 2x6s down and just turn them into nailers, I can like recess our sheets kind of in between the posts and behind the finished surface of the lower sheet. And that'll make it to where I don't have to touch the conduit, hopefully. Maybe in like one spot I would have to. And then I can get moved in sooner. I need to be moving in here in 6 days. I want to have this place 100% painted. I want to have a loft built. I have a ton of work to do. I don't have time to pull all this conduit out and do it the right way. So, in the interest of flexibility, in the interest of me getting back to making automotive YouTube videos, I think this is our path forward. In my previous shop, I guess my current shop where all my tools are, I got just enough done to get moved in, and it ended up being a huge problem where it was difficult to finish anything because I had a bunch of tools in the way. So this time, I'm doing everything I can to get as much of this stuff insulated, as much of these surfaces covered and painted before I move anything in here, because once the tools get in here, I've learned my lesson. It is way too difficult to work over the top of everything, so then you end up just living in a half-completed structure. The good thing is the post is like mint. This post, which is what structure, yeah, the post is in perfect shape. And this I don't care about, that's just a nailer. Once we finally closed on this property and I started to work on the shop, we found like 20 leaks in the roof. So it's got a brand new roof and everything dried out so much better than I thought it was going to. There's this one like black spot here with some rotten wood, and it's really it. I've been thinking about building this loft for weeks, and I finally came up with a strategy. This 1/2-inch plywood is what this whole building is like lined with, but this is not supporting any load. This is not bearing. So we don't want to just like say, all right, we want it to be an 8-foot long loft, and then we bring that out 8 feet, and then we take our joists or beams or however we want to build it and just put mount a hanger to 1/2-inch plywood and then hang stuff on it. That's not what this is for. This is for holding up tools and stuff like that, and then giving you something to paint so you actually have walls. This is a 4x4, not a 6x6. All the posts are 6x6s, but you'll get the idea. What we want to do is we want to find supporting structure, something that's actually load bearing, and then we can mount our hangers to it, and then we can mount to that. And so the way that I'm planning on doing this is the back wall is going to be a rim joist that I'm then going to laminate. So it's going to be a 2x10 rim joist that I'm then going to laminate another layer on top of that, just because of the span of all the posts. I want to make sure that there's plenty of beef back there. And then we're going to mount our joists to that rim joist with hangers, and then we're going to laminate a beam in front. And it's just going to be 2x10 that we're going to put on there, and then we're going to laminate another piece on top of it, screw it all together with heavy duty lags. And I'm actually going to even add some load-bearing walls so we don't have to add beams anywhere. To me, this is when projects actually start to get fun. When you start to create something from scratch, which is going to be this loft, and it gives us a certain amount of flexibility and creativity, and things start to move fast, and it's so much more exciting. And this is the part of the shop build that I think is my personal favorite. This right here is going to be the stairs that are going to go up to the loft. Most of the loft builds that you see in shops are done with posts, and I think that that is a great way to do it, don't get me wrong. But I decided to opt for walls because walls will not only give me like more surface to mount things and hang things, but they're going to add this extra structure to this loft that is going to be so valuable for making sure that everything is nice and strong. And I'm going to move my stairs inboard. Instead of being on the outer edges, I'm going to kind of like divide part of the loft with it, which is just going to make it to where we're going to be spanning. We're going to be anchoring the top of this structure across a span that is going to be a little bit smaller because we're going to divide it up with walls. If you subtract the stairs then we are about 404 square feet up here that I just gained. It's a 2,000 square foot box. We just added, so 2,400 square feet is a good chunk of real estate to build cool things in. And one thing I was concerned about is, am I gonna be able to walk around up here without hitting my head? And as you can see, I can go all the way back to the wall and I'm not crouching or anything, and I'm able to walk around from one side to the other. So this is officially no longer just storage space. I'm gonna make this a workspace as well. I do have some questions for those of you that are carpenters about some of like the structural stuff in here. Is this strong enough? I'm very curious on your thoughts. I'll tell you where I think I'm not worried about and where I think I am worried about, and you let me know in the comments if you're an engineer or you're a carpenter and you think that there is some room for improvement here. So I'm not concerned about the front part here. I think that laminating two 2x10s is gonna be pretty strong, especially because the longest distance between support is 10 feet. But where I am concerned is between this post right here and this post right there. That's a pretty long span on that back wall that is only being supported with lag bolts and then screws into plywood. The screws into plywood, all we can expect strength-wise would be to help keep this thing from like jittering and bouncing around as you walk around. It's clearly not like structural strength as far as it like supporting what we're doing up there. So can I trust those lag bolts without adding support down here? I think that I could add a post like right here in between. I could add a 4x4 or a 6x6 or something like that under that rim joist, and then would that satisfy what my needs are? Let me know in the comments if you think that I should add some structure. I'm super open to the idea. I would just need a little bit of guidance from somebody who knows what they're doing instead of a plumber who is imitating what he's seen on job sites for 15 years. I greatly underestimated how long it was going to take me to do all this by myself. And now I've got help, which is nice, but dude, I did end up adding like angle brackets where it made sense. I did end up adding 4x4 posts where it made sense as well. I added 4 of them in total in order to make that span between the 6x6 posts a little bit shorter and to have like a lot more strength up and down. And on top of me moving, my mother and father-in-law are also moving. And so I inherited a 1937 Plymouth PT50. I have no idea when we're going to get to this or even what I'm going to do with it, but you will see it in the background in the barn. This is as far as we're gonna get in this video, but we made huge progress. And I don't think I really covered it much, but I made some huge shelves that span like the whole sides. This place is gonna start to make sense once we get stuff in here. And so I look forward to what will be like the final build of the shop. And that'll be whenever this is 100% done. I have everything in here that I want. We will go through and I'll do like a full shop tour because this is gonna be super cool when it's all done. And I know that some of you guys, at least some of you, are gonna be interested in seeing that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. We'll see you on the next one.